Hi, Michelle. Hi, YouTube.
Hi, everyone.
So today we have a video for you on anxiety and sleep because we figured we haven't done a video on sleep in a long time, and it is such a big topic in our community. And if you are struggling with insomnia or morning anxiety or waking up in the middle of the night, then I hope that this information that we will provide today will be of value to you. So, Michelle, lately, did you have any calls with clients who were struggling with sleep? And if so, what is like the main thing that comes up during your sessions?
It's a theme the last couple weeks. That's why I thought this would be a good topic. It's funny how sometimes things come up in themes like that. Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's generally the sleep anxiety cycle where this is just what I've been getting lately, where um, I'm not sleeping well at night, and I'm trying to sleep well at night to not be anxious the next day, and then I'm spending my day trying to not be anxious the next day so I can sleep at night. And it's this cycle, this like 24/7 cycle that people kind of get stuck in, where they're trying to force themselves to sleep to try and keep themselves calm, and then it just keeps spiraling.
And just from the get-go, let us say that yes, sleep is such an important thing and can really wreak havoc in our lives because it affects everything. It affects our mood, it affects our energy, it affects our focus, our ability to work. We get more irritated, more thin-skinned. Usually our appetite is off. So it affects a lot of areas in our life. And not being able to sleep is indeed tough. But if you have been following us for a while, you know that not being able to sleep is no different than having any other sensation, right? So we
Hmm.
treat it with the same pattern, with the same approach. But we do want to validate and acknowledge that not being able to sleep can be tough, definitely. Have you experienced insomnia, Michelle, during your anxiety phase?
Not during my anxiety phase. I'm a terrible, terrible sleeper in general. I go
Yeah.
through like patterns where, like lately, I'm just so tired and I just I can't barely get up to my alarm. But then there's other times I'll wake up during the night. I have a hard time falling asleep. I'll get like restless leg syndrome. I wake up early, but then I'm tired all day long. I don't have I don't have anxiety about sleep. I just happen to not be a great sleeper.
Interesting. It's the other way around for me. I'm a great
Really.
sleeper, terrible insomnia when I had anxiety. And I
Mm.
remember was like almost 2 weeks where, I barely got any sleep. So, yeah, well, we'll get into the details of what keeps us awake. So there are two things, right? We have sensitization first that might make it hard for our body to fall asleep. And sensitization can be due to many things. It could be because your nervous system is sensitized due to anxiety, fighting anxiety. It could be because you're going through a lot of stress. It could be hormonal changes.
Mhm.
There's so many reasons why your nervous system might be sensitized, which makes it harder for your body to fall into its natural rhythm. But this is usually not where the story ends, right? So
Yeah,
this is
yeah, nobody
where
calls us for
the
that.
story really begins. So how
Yeah.
how uh, does the story go on, Michelle? So here I am, sensitized for whatever reason. I'm trying to fall asleep, and then I notice, oh, I can't sleep. And not just one night, but then it's the second night, maybe the third night. And then what are the first thoughts that usually creep in for people?
Oh my God, what if I can never sleep? Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to handle the next day. I'm going to be too tired to perform properly at work. I'm so too tired, I can't feel joyful in life. And then worried about not sleeping as it's going to damage me, like irreparable damage. Because really, that's what you hear a lot of, especially with the world of
Huh.
anxiety. The advice is, get good sleep. And most people are like, I'm trying really hard to get good sleep. The problem is that's a good advice, just like it's like, drink water and exercise. But when you hear, sleep 7 to 8 hours a day, a night, if you can, the problem is that advice is really meant for people that are kind of purposely getting in the way of their own sleep.
Right.
Like that's for people that are purposely working into the late hours of night and having a coffee at 10 o'clock at night, or like purposely getting in the way of that cycle. But who usually hear that advice are people who are trying to force their bodies to enter and stay in a state of sleep. And that's when we move on, like we move beyond the point of our control. Now you're trying to force sleep rather than for the people who are getting in the way of their natural sleep.
Totally. And it's always the same pattern, you guys. You see, there is a trigger and then there is catastrophization. Oh God, this is terrible. It's a judgment, right? And then let's project into the future. Now, this means that X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And then more worries creep in. What if my anxiety gets even worse? And what if this? And what if this? And all of that just revs up your nervous system. And all these worries and negative projections, negative evaluation, they always come with an impulse to control. That's that, do something, do something. And if you're not aware that it's so natural for worries to come with impulses, what we usually do then is give in to these impulses. And what's the next thing we do then? In which obvious and sometimes very subtle forms do we try to control our sleep, Michelle? What do you see in your clients mostly?
Oh gosh, ruminating about sleep or having all the supplements or like all the sleep stories or the white noise machine. Again, like this is usually where the world of wellness works against us because now sleep, it's not just about sleep. Sleep is now kind of like on the danger radar. Now when sleep becomes a must or else, when sleep becomes a thing to slay or a problem to solve, now wellness turns into kind of compulsive behaviors.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
like, that's why I mentioned before, I don't sleep well, but I don't have like a disordered relationship with sleep, really. So, wellness would probably work better for me with the mindset of like, it would be nice to sleep better. I would enjoy sleeping more. I would prefer to be less tired. But when it gets into disorder land, it's like, I have to do 20 rituals to sleep and say a prayer like this and then have my hot tea. And then it becomes so ritualized and controlled. That's where it becomes like more important rather than it would be nice. It becomes must or else.
Right. And you just said it, the key word is control. It's not a nice to have thing. It has to be like that thing. And usually it's people who don't do any sleep rituals that begin those rituals when they notice I can't sleep. Right. And
Yeah.
this is what turn into compulsions. Whereas as Michelle just said, having good sleep hygiene and, all the wellness tips that are out there, we don't need to repeat them here because you'll see them on every second Instagram wellness page, right?
Hmm.
So you know exactly what to do, but it's not the what to do, it's the intention. And what people usually do is trying to figure out what is wrong. The question mark that sits in the back of your head is the most potent driver of your control.
Hmm.
It's if I could just know why I'm not able to sleep, what is wrong with me? What is going on? What can I do? And that void, that space where this uncertainty lives, is exactly where anxiety grows. It's like a crossroad. I either surrender and say, well, my body seems to have a reason to not be able to sleep because I know my body would fall asleep if it could. So it just is what it is. I'm going to let go of control. It will be fine. If we don't do that, we're like, oh, something is wrong. And now we need to find out first what is wrong so we can go and fix it. And the problem is we keep on ruminating and looking for causes, and usually we don't get to an answer or we draw false conclusions.
Sleep is part of your autonomic nervous system, right? It's the part of you that you don't consciously directly control. Again, a good tell is if babies can do it without, right, their conscious involvement or direction, then it's something that it's probably your involvement in sleep that's more of the problem, not the fact that you're not sleeping well. And it's that over involvement that we do, that control piece that kind of hooks to so many things. Even just how we might approach anxiety in general. A lot of times people lie down to go to sleep and their mind's racing or their body is loud and they've spent the day trying really hard to accept and allow or trying not to have those thoughts. And there's kind of like this baseline where I'm already at odds with my body. I'm already at odds with the thoughts in my head. And when it's quiet, it's even harder because now my thoughts are louder. And if I have a disordered relationship with my thoughts or with my body, nighttime can get trickier. Nighttime in the shower, driving, because it's really just you and your body. And you're much more aware of what's going on in here, which for anxiety disorders keeps us involved in doing more, which keeps us awake.
And what I like to tell my clients is to try and not be so surprised by the fact that you're not able to sleep when you're sensitized. Because most people, they don't get really surprised when they have an upset stomach when they're sensitized. I do get an upset stomach, but there is no, oh my God, why is this happening? I'm like, yes, of course. I also know that my mind starts to become really just loud and hypervigilant when I'm sensitized. It's very unpleasant, but I'm not surprised by it. And by seeing a disrupted sleep pattern as just yet another sensation that comes with sensitization really helps to normalize and let go of that urge to figure out what is going on and control.
Yeah, because if you don't normalize it, then you're pathologizing it, right? Then
Mhm.
every time my body does something that I don't like, it comes paired with oh my gosh, why? What's wrong with me? And that why, what's wrong with me is one of those patterns. It's like disorder pattern. We hook that to everything. I'm anxious. Why? What's wrong with me? My throat is dry. Why? What's wrong with me? Let's fix it. And it's the fixing that keeps us stuck in it. So again, fight or flight, kind of like fight or flight and rest and digest. Picture them like a seesaw. Fight or flight and rest and digest are kind of like the opposite states. So just know when fight or flight is on, rest and digest kind of come down. So, like Aida was saying, don't be so surprised. It's kind of like if you did a big workout and the next day you're like, oh my God, why are my muscles so sore? Oh my goodness, I have to, this is a sign of a problem. I better fix this. Instead, it's like, oh, of course my muscles are sore. I just worked out. Oh, of course I'm not sleeping. I'm stressed out today. Or, yeah, of course I had a coffee. I had 3 coffees instead of 2 coffees. So I guess my body's just awake right now. And,
Mhm.
when you put some space between you and your body, it can really help. That's the D part with dare here, where instead of I can't sleep and now I have to do something to sleep like it's my responsibility. There's this pressure and there's this idea that it's up to me to fix this. When
Mhm.
really, if you put some space between the you that lives inside your body and your body, and you kind of use different vocabulary like, oh, I notice my body happens to still be awake right now. And that's kind of all you really get to do. Like you can provide your body with rest, but at that point, you don't you can't do anymore. We tend to cross the line to control to and now I do all these things and I make sleep. And you don't force sleep. You can provide your body with rest. And then your body might fall into a deeper level of rest called sleep, or it might not. But that's where we step out of the way of our bodies. But with disorder, we get more involved, trying to force something that doesn't happen by force.
Right. And as you can see from what Michelle just said, anxiety always lives in this space where our control ends. If we can control up to here, there is no anxiety. But the moment we cross that threshold and we try to control the uncontrollable, this is where anxiety lives. And this is where the anxiety disorder lives. Because here you try and you try and you try and you try and you're not getting anywhere. Because if you would get somewhere, you wouldn't experience anxiety. And so really the goal of DARE is to help us, first of all, recognize this pattern and to see that, oh yes, I am trying to control. Oh yes, I am catastrophizing. And that little bit of mindfulness goes such a long way. And although it seems like such a natural thing to be aware of our patterns, we're usually not. And just becoming aware, oh yeah, I'm trying to control something that is totally out of my control already helps to let go of some of these urges and impulses. And then also to focus our energy on the things that we can control. Now, and Michelle just said something important. We can provide our body with the appropriate or helpful circumstances for our body to sleep. We can provide it with rest, but
Mhm.
that is all we get to do. And by changing a few definitions, and sometimes it sounds like we're splitting words or we're trying to sugarcoat something, we're really not. But the way you speak to yourself and the way you frame things really does make a great deal of a difference. And rest is such a thing. We usually think of rest as sleep. And then we go even further. Oh, it needs to be deep sleep, and it needs to be at least 45 minutes in deep sleep, and then I need to have 16 REM phases. All these informations that we gather on the internet. But rest can come in other forms as well. So you just allowing your body to lie down is a form of rest. You being comfortable and not having to do something, not just physically, but also mentally.
Mhm.
Not having to fix a problem, not having to solve something, not having to work really hard on your sleep issue or your anxiety problem or the meeting tomorrow. So just giving yourself some space where you can exist without any performance character, just being, really moving from doing to being. That is a form of rest.
Yeah, the performance piece is such a big thing. And also, like, just we take that attitude and we send that throughout the rest of the day. So, again, some things you might hear us say here might sound opposite from good sleep hygiene, but it's different when it becomes a sleeping disorder. It's almost like the opposite approach. So, what I teach on my calls and what we all teach through DARE is like, rather than trying to use DARE to sleep better, really, it's about getting better at not sleeping because fear
Yes.
has fused itself to sleep, and now sleep has taken on this danger label. Now you're fine as long as you sleep, but it's until you don't sleep well again because you're a human being and at some point you're not going to sleep well again. But if that's always viewed as not sleeping as the setback, then you'll always be at the mercy of the random things your body might do. So instead, the disorder is treating sleep as danger. So we're going to start treating not sleeping as safe. And when somebody calls me, they might hear me give some really weird suggestions.
Oh, yeah.
Like weird, like the opposite of what everybody's trying hard to do. So if
Yes.
somebody's so worried about waking up at middle of the night, what do I do about those 3 a.m. wake ups? And so normally what people are usually asking is, how do I make sure that doesn't happen? How
Uh-huh.
do I make sure that doesn't happen? And when it happens, how do I get myself back to sleep ASAP? And I might give some backward sounding advice because again, the underlying premise is all of the things we're battling is inherently safe. If
Mhm.
you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in no more danger than if you woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But are
Mhm.
you treating awakeness at that time as dangerous? Or are you treating it as safe? So I might say things like, oh, that's fine. You're safe. It's safe if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And to show that it's safe, when you go to bed, set your alarm for 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
And people look at me like I have lost it. Why
I
would
have
I do that? I don't want to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's
right.
not about what you want or what you like. It's about what am I treating as safe and dangerous? What am I trying to beat and avoid? And what am I being more allowing towards?
Yes. I really love that you brought this up, Michelle. Such an important point. The approach when you're working with an anxiety disorder that is attached to itself to sleep is very different. It can sound very backwards from what you hear on, from the wellness side. And that is intentional. That's not
Hmm.
a mistake because our goal here is a different one. We're not working with the sleep itself, but with your fear of not sleeping. That is fueling your insomnia. And to your point, Michelle, setting the alarm. Exactly. Great tip, right? Or another thing that I tell my clients is, well, expect to be awake.
Hmm.
Instead of going to bed and saying, oh, I hope this doesn't happen today, totally expect it and prepare for it. Get a book, get some snacks, make yourself comfortable, already know what you're going to do when you wake up at 3. Genuinely
Right.
expecting it and working on making wakefulness something at least neutral. I'm not saying it has to be positive, but moving away from negative appraisal, "Oh, this is terrible, and then this will happen to neutral. Okay,
Hmm.
it is what it is. Now, what now? What can I do now with the next 3 hours? I was in California just recently, and due to jet lag, I woke up every day, every night, I have to say, at 3 a.m. And it was no problem. I used the time from 3 to 6 to check out what I'm going to do, make plans. It was not a problem, but it could have very easily become a problem if I would have asked myself, what is going on? Why am I not able to sleep?
Mhm.
I want to emphasize how you appraise a situation, a trigger makes the greatest difference. The
Yeah.
greatest difference. So this is always your first training ground. Change the appraisal, let go of control, and then do the best that you can, being there for yourself and carrying yourself through something that is unpleasant because that is part of life.
Yeah, I mean, think of if you were in California, think of two different Aidas laying next to in two different hotel rooms, and they both wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the first Aida says, "Oh, what time is it? Oh, 3 o'clock. Oh, that's too bad. Oh, well, I was hoping to sleep till 6. Oh, well, let's see what time breakfast opens in the hotel. All right, well, I can go take a walk on the beach before everybody else wakes up. Okay, well, maybe I'll look and see what times we can book this stuff today. Oh, maybe I'll like take an early shower. Okay. Aida number two in the other hotel room wakes up and looks at the clock and goes, oh, 3 a.m. Still disappointed, just like the first Aida, but that one stays there. Oh, God, again? What was
Mhm.
even the point of taking this vacation? This is going to ruin everything. This is a ruiner. I'm going to be too tired to do anything. I won't be able to make it till dinner tonight. Now I'm going to be more anxious. Let me try really hard to get back to sleep because if I don't, I know I'm going to be more anxious because when I don't get enough sleep, I'm really anxious and then I'm tired. And God, what was even the point? Now, what if I fly home and I'm stuck like that? Do you hear the language difference? We are obnoxious with words, but there is a reason because your words form your perception and your
Yes.
perception like directs your attitude and that uh, like it directs your behavior. And so if you're always viewing it as problematic, as a ruiner, as I won't be able to handle or tolerate, those stories set the scene for everything that comes next.
Totally, totally. And your brain will just run with that, right? Our
Hmm.
brain loves to take current experiences or past experiences and project those into the future. So even if it is true that, let's say, your past experience says, when I sleep less, I feel more sensitized the next day, right? So our brain takes that information and says, oh, remember, right,
Hmm.
last when this happened, this is how you felt Saturday. So we think the same thing is going to happen, but we really don't know. And it's so immensely helpful in those moments to remember, hold on, this is actually tomorrow is like a white sheet of paper. That could happen, but
Hmm.
can also allow myself to be curious and see what happens. It might be worse, it might be nothing at all, it might be neutral. I don't know. But in any case, I can't control it. All I really get to do is to meet it. But if I already have this preconceived belief of how it's going to go, as Michelle just said, you're shaping your perception, and your perception then shapes your experience.
Hmm.
Right? So we do have a direct influence in how we experience this whole thing. We're not just a reactive or passive observer of this. The way we view things and appraise triggers and situations makes a great deal of a difference.
Yeah, plan versus control. So even if you didn't sleep well, oh, last time I went to California, I was
Mhm.
up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so the disordered way, it's, oh my God, what if this time I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning? I won't be able to handle. I have to make sure that doesn't happen. What should we do to control that? What should we do to make sure that doesn't happen? That's not plan, that's control. What we'll say is like, okay, so if that is what happened, then plan for a 3 a.m. wake up. Like
Right.
I'll ask people, I'm like, what? We always talk about there's not enough time in the day to do all the things we have to do. If the world somehow created 3 extra hours a day, okay? If you had 3 extra hours a day of awakeness, forget what you think I'm going towards, right? If you had 3 extra hours a day, what would you be doing with that time? And
Mhm.
so my clients, they might say anything from like prepping dinner to learning Japanese to exercising. And again, because it's opposite from wellness right now when it's the fear of not sleeping, I'll say, then go do all that stuff. When I wake up, like have a whole list of things. Oh, hey, the plan is to sleep from 11 to 7. I would love that. I'm planning on sleeping from 11 to 7. But should my body wake up before then and I just laying in bed is me spinning and spiraling in my head. That's not a good use of my time. Okay.
Okay.
So instead, like, oh, I'm going to clean out my memory card. I'm going to go edit pictures from the birth of my children 16 years ago up until now because we have 20,000 pictures on our memory card. I'm going to empty
Yes.
my inbox and I'm going to do it for a set period of time. Like, okay, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, well, what's the list of things to do with my found time? And my suggestion is always to kind of like pocket things into 15-20 minute things. I'm going to get up, I'm going to prep my lunch for tomorrow, and then I'm going to come put myself back to bed. Okay. And provide my body back with rest. And we'll see if my body falls asleep or not. And if it does, cool. We like that. If it doesn't, okay, I have choices again. And when you always let yourself have choices, not to control, but what I'm doing with my time and energy next, you see how that's less pressure and it's less surviving and it's less predicting and battling.
And it's self-care. When we make a plan and when we hold ourselves through a difficult experience, what we learn is, oh, I cannot only handle tough things, but I can be there for myself while tough things are happening. Yeah, one more point I wanted to cover, Michelle, is a lot of people starting to dread their bedroom. I'm sure you've heard that before, and it makes sense, right? You're there, you're trying to force yourself to fall asleep and you can't, and then your brain builds up all these associations with your bedroom. What can be helpful in those moments is to notice the association, this new
Mhm.
formed association, and to remind yourself, hold on a second, well, for the past 6 years, I slept like a baby in this bed. That has nothing to do with the room, has nothing to do with my bed. I actually love my bed. I love my room. Nothing has changed. It's just that I don't feel as comfortable as I used to, but I will. Again, this ties into what we just said earlier about appraisal and mindfulness and just noticing how your brain forms these associations and loves to turn everything into something negative and into something to fix.
When your body is sending you anxiety for nighttime, it's probably because you've been using that energy for days and weeks before to battle through nighttime. So also know that that's your body kind of doing its job. It's gotten the message that nighttime is dangerous. Basically, because of how you're treating nighttime. If you are doing this and looking and checking all night long, and so your this alarm system in you is gonna basically go like, hey girl, it's 8 o'clock. Hey girl, it's 9 o'clock. And now you're gonna feel things like anticipation and dread and anxiety because again, that's your body prepping itself to survive through something. The glitch is we're survive through the wrong things. Like sleeping is not a dangerous survivable situation, but your body's now prepped for it.
Hmm.
And it's tricky because you're in a heightened state to help you fight yourself to sleep and you fall asleep. You don't fight to sleep. So same dare approach of like, so instead of waiting for 11 o'clock at night at 7 o'clock, go, oh, yup, hup, there's the whoosh of energy. There's my body prepping me for sleep tonight. Wow, look at my body all put together well, like so good at surviving through things. Thank you so much for that energy. You know what? I may or may not sleep tonight. And also, I can go in my bedroom and have dinner in my bedroom and go in there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, that's not sleep wellness. Sleep wellness is use your bed for sleep and sex. Sleep anxiety is now the bedroom is danger. Everything feels like danger. So I can spend all day in the bedroom. I can sleep on the couch. I can sleep on the floor. I can lay in the bed and then go sleep in the living room. And you start treating it almost with like less rigid, a softening of trying to do everything just right. You don't have to sleep in the bedroom. You also, one other thing I want to add too, is we get so rigid with sleep, we bring that rigidness throughout the next day because then I'm so tired at 1 o'clock, but I can't nap because if I nap, I'll mess up my sleep for the night. And so I won't even lay on the couch. I'll do a lot of things to stay awake. You're battling tired all day long, and then you're battling awakeness all night long. And it's the battle that's the consistent piece.
Yes. Yes, it's the battle that is the consistent piece. It's so important. And the challenge and the goal at the same time is to treat sleep as if it's not a big deal, while it feels
Hmm.
like it's big deal. That is how you unlink this false fusion with sleep and anxiety, sleep being something that is survivable as opposed to sleep being a natural thing that sometimes just gets out of balance, but that will get itself into balance as long as you get out of the way. And one last thing, Michelle, I'm sure you have experienced before, and that comes up in your sessions as it is in mine, is waking up in the middle of the night with hypnic jerks.
I mean, everybody's experienced it. Usually it's as you're falling asleep or as you're waking up. I think it's more common for people as they're falling asleep. But it happens as you're about to wake up. It's whatever, it's a misinterpretation. I think, I remember hearing once it usually comes after a period of exhaustion or you're just
Yeah.
so tired. It's almost like your body falls asleep before your head falls asleep and you're aware that your muscles go slack. And when you're aware of that, you have this startled jump. Like, so for me, you feel like you're falling into a hole or you're falling off a mountain and your body wakes up and now you have a whoosh of adrenaline. Sometimes it comes paired with like almost like a millisecond dream. Like you might hear like a word. I know it scares people a lot. Like you might wake up with an image in your head or almost like a sound in your ear with this whoosh of
Yeah.
adrenaline, So it's important to like understand that ahead of time. So when that happens, even if you're scared, you're like, oh, that's normal rather than, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Was this me about to go crazy or was this me whatever? Then we get scared of falling asleep. So we want to sleep, but then we're scared to fall asleep because what if I have another hypnic jerk? And it's going to be the
Right.
same attitude of like, well, then I have a hypnic jerk, not my control. And you take yourself out of the equation of trying to control all these things that it's in your body's control. Your body kind of just needs to be left alone for a lot of this stuff. You set the scene for wellness, but then you step out of the scene and then you pass it over to your body.
Totally, totally. And what makes it sometimes hard for people is that usually hypnic jerks that happen in the middle of the night, not the ones that happen as you're about to fall asleep, is there's this moment of disorientation. People often report, I don't even know who I was, where I was, what was going on. And it
Hmm.
takes seconds for you to reorient yourself in the room. And just knowing that that's a very healthy response. Right? Your body's sending you more adrenaline to wake you so you can orient yourself. It's highly unpleasant. But again, knowing that there's this big, big difference between this is dangerous or this is highly uncomfortable.
Yes, yes.
And we promise we're not splitting words, but it makes the greatest difference because discomfort doesn't lead to this intense fight or flight reaction, whereas danger does.
Hmm.
And what
Hmm.
we want is we want to classify sensations in the right way because our body's way of reacting to our appraisal will be very different, and our response to our body's response will change as well. And as a
Yeah.
final note, we cannot walk through life without things happening to us. Although we wish they wouldn't, but things happen to us, and our bodies go through wild stages, sometimes stages where they're out of balance. Sometimes we know what is causing it, and many times we don't know.
Hmm.
And surrendering this not knowing and just leaving things as they are and meeting circumstances, meeting your body, meeting those times of challenge and unease and imbalance with curiosity and a mindset of holding yourself through it as opposed to having to control your way through it or always guard yourself and keep yourself safe.
And just know that, especially if you're somebody who you used to sleep great and now you don't sleep well, and now you're trying all these things and techniques and sleep stories and anxiety podcasts in the middle of the night, you didn't do that stuff when you slept okay. And when you did sleep okay back in the day, you also didn't sleep okay. There were nights you did not sleep well, but you were better
Yeah.
at not sleeping well, right? You kind of just let those experiences happen. You didn't do a lot of compulsive behaviors where now sleep is the obsession and it's up to me to control it. Your body may come in and out of different fluctuation levels of sleep, but you were probably better at allowing your body to do those things. And when you come over to here, we think more is better, and really it's less is better. And it's not with a winky winky, like, okay, I'll do all that stuff and it'll work, right? I'll sleep, right? Yeah, not if you're asking a question like that. It's more like your body was designed to do all of this stuff without your over meddling in it. And when you kind of get out of the way of it again, it doesn't mean it's going to work and sleep perfectly, but you're going to go back to you being in charge of the things that you're in charge and your body being in charge of the things that it's in charge of. And you work together rather than against each other.
Great way of wrapping it up. Thank you so much, Michelle. Guys, we hope this was helpful. And if you have any more questions around sleep, we offer webinars for our app subscribers 2 times a month where you can submit your questions or comment below on this video, share your experience with anxiety and sleep. And if you have any tips that have helped you, then make sure to share those with the community as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.